Powerful characters. They're kind of the staple of anime, especially in shonen anime. And when it comes to any kind of ranking system, everybody always likes to focus on how powerful a character is. We want to know how hard they can punch and how far they can punch an object. And can their powers bend space-time or bring people back to life or create ice cream sundaes out of nothing? And all of these are things we like to collate and attribute and then rank against each other. While it probably seems a little hard to necessarily rank characters from different universes together, because certain universes are almost completely incompatible in terms of their power system, it's worth noting that I think that there are some things that just transcend power systems. When you look at a character, and when the author basically said, oh, this is so powerful, I'm not entirely sure how to deal with this, that character should probably go down as one of fiction's strongest characters. So let's go ahead and get into what, in my opinion, are the top 5 strongest anime characters. Let's go ahead and start this character list off with a character who is faster than any jet on Earth and can destroy the planet at a certain time. I'm going to go ahead and put Kuro Sensei at number 5 on this list. I definitely think Kuro Sensei is one of the most powerful characters in all of anime. He's definitely faster than most characters, and the only people faster than him are other people on this list. In terms of abilities, he has extreme regeneration. He can move like Mach 20, Mach 21, I think. Fast enough that he can get from Japan to Hawaii to watch an American movie and then get back within roughly 24-hour period. He is also technically carrying antimatter and will detonate eventually at the end of the series. Minor spoiler for a show that's really old, but still. And technically, his destructive capability does place him pretty high up on an anime tier list, but I don't actually want to rank him here for that. I just really want to say that even in his own universe, he's hyper powerful. We see other characters who are basically built to kill him can't do that at all. And even if you were to take him and put him in another universe, his power set actually would work just the same. And he would probably be capable of blitzing almost any set of anime characters, minus the main character and like the teacher character in most universes. So he's definitely deserving of the number 5 spot. Did you enjoy that well-balanced and somewhat reasonable character that we just had on the list? Good, it's not happening again. From now on, we are going, strictly speaking, ridiculously full-on powerful anime characters. So let's start that list off with a character who actually was quoted by his mangaka as being so powerful he didn't know what to do with him, and Madara. Yeah, I could have picked anyone from the Naruto universe, but if we're being really honest, Madara is probably at the top of that tier list. The only reason that Kaguya gets to exist is because Madara was sneak attacked, and the only reason that Madara was sneak attacked is because, by the mangaka's own admission, he didn't know how to deal with him. There wasn't a single user in the Allied Shinobi Alliance that had an ability that could take him down. There wasn't even an enemy that had an ability that could take him down. Once Kabuto was turned into a good guy, they still couldn't take him down because he, alone, for a character who only barely understood the jutsu he was reincarnated with and wasn't the one who invented it, knew the release for it, which the inventor didn't know. I have no idea how that works, but it's how it worked. And so Madara basically gets to enjoy the perks of being a zombie that doesn't age, has chakra that constantly refills itself, and he can constantly reassemble himself if he's ever destroyed. And he was already one of the strongest characters even before he faked his own death. Wow. This is also really a significant entry on the list because everybody on this list post this character is stronger, but I just have to put him here because he can summon meteors. There's not really a lot of things that are stronger than that. I mean, he can basically cause a calamity that wiped out the dinosaurs. That's strong. I don't think anybody else in Naruto, except for maybe the Kaguya battle, has anything remotely close to that. And if you even stuck around in Naruto to see the Kaguya battle, you know that that really got insane. Like, it borderline wasn't part of the same series. Madara was the last character who was a ninja who was in this series, and he could summon a meteor. That's our 4th entry. Moving on. Here we are. No less ridiculously powerful, but a little bit safer now because at least I'm talking about a good guy again. And we're going to go ahead and say that our 3rd entry is Goku. Yes, Goku. Now, technically, Goku is one of the strongest characters in all of fiction. I mean, really, you'd have to look at characters like Superman to beat him in a fight, but he is insanely strong. He's strong enough to fight and then overcome anyone in his own universe. He has attained the Dragon Balls several times, and he has the ability to destroy a planet. Technically, his master had the ability to destroy a planet, and he's stronger than him. That that trumps Madara's asteroids. I mean, the Kamehameha wave is like ridiculously powerful, and Goku has only expanded its capabilities. Plus, he has mastered both the different martial arts styles in his universe and has picked up far more from that point onwards. He has gathered so many strong allies that look at him as the strongest master and member of their group. And honestly, it feels weird to say that sometimes even his stronger abilities that were important in the original series, like his Ozaru form, aren't even considered anymore. He's powerful with the fact that the writers keep forgetting he has powerful forms. So I feel like it's kind of funny to say that he's not at the top of this list, but there are a few characters who I earnestly think are way stronger than him. It's just in terms of like, you started off as a normal person and then became really strong. There's only one other who qualifies, and he's on this list as well, but he's an exception. Goku actually had to train for his power, and to go from I'm basically just a martial artist kid to now I can fight on a galactic level or multiversal level is an impressive feat. And next up, we're going to go ahead and swing back to a bad guy. Technically, a lot of bad guys could have ended up on this list, but if you're familiar with anything going on in anime right now, there's only one bad guy who really qualifies to be the strongest, and that is Yaba. God, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I've listened to several anime tubers, and I'm still not entirely sure. Please let me know in the comments if I got that right or not. And he is undoubtedly like the strongest character in Bleach by far. They always the good guys win in shonen anime for very obvious reasons, but they usually do that through plucky grit and some decent planning. But if it came down to straight up fights, Yaba is just insane. He is the precursor of the entire Quincy race. He is basically a living god because he can transfer his essence to other people. It grows inside them and then transfer it back to himself. And he can do this endlessly because he basically spreads his essence to whoever he comes in contact with. He can give people superpowers. That's where the Wonder Reich get their abilities from. He can take Quincy powers away. He can bestow them again. He is utterly a master at crafting reishi into physical items, like not just a bow and arrow, but he can make borderline full constructs from it. And that doesn't even qualify for what he gets once the series really ramps up. I mean, he basically becomes a full-on god in Bleach once the series really gets going, capable of even, by his own admission, merging different Bleach universes together. Technically, the Soul Society, Hueco Mundo, and the Earth are technically separate places, like separate dimensions. He gains the ability that if he wanted to, he could merge them all into one. That is powerful. That is extremely powerful. If it weren't for the fact that he technically, through the process of how he disperses his essence and brings it back, inadvertently creates an element that is deadly to himself, he would have borderline no weaknesses. And because of that, he is definitely worthy of the top second place on this list. There's only one character that I genuinely feel is stronger, and based on my earlier comments, I'm thinking you probably know who that is. So let's not dance around it. The strongest of all strong anime characters ever is Saitama. It's the One Punch Man himself, Bald Cape. Silly name aside, Saitama is definitely the strongest character. Yaba took number 2 on the spot because he's basically a god. Saitama is the person that God fears. And when you really think about it, Yaba and God in the One Punch Man universe function very similarly. They are very powerful beings, but they need people to proctor their power for them, and taking that into account, Saitama trashes anyone who technically has God's power. Saitama is, in no other word, limitless. Whenever faced with any kind of challenge at all, Saitama continues to increase, and increase, and increase in power. But this isn't like how Goku does it, like where he has to go on a training arc and spend time in a gravity chamber. No, Saitama will just automatically start to increase in ability once he deals with anybody strong enough to actually challenge him. He did it with Boros, and he will later do it, small spoiler, in the comic, with Garo. If you haven't heard about this fight, I'm not going to spoil a lot for you, but I'm going to say this. Garo basically becomes a god of destruction, and Saitama can fight him. Like, beat him, fight him. They break planets. They technically smash out part of the galaxy. It's insane. And Saitama can do this. And technically, he may or may not have been using his full effort on that. And he was still increasing his power at a rate faster than a guy who was literally an embodiment of part of the universe. So when I say that Saitama is the strongest anime character, I'm not making that up. There are very few characters who have abilities on par with Saitama, and the ones that you would have to look at would be ones like Yaba, who basically are gods. But Saitama's ability makes him pretty much immune to any of their abilities. And, as we see with Garo later in the comic, again, small spoiler here, he masters time travel and spatial manipulation. Technically, he forgets these once he learns them, but the fact he can do it at all is impressive and scary, and puts him pretty much in a position that if he ever faced an enemy that was stronger than him, he could hypothetically travel back and take out that enemy before they actually became an issue. So yeah, Saitama is definitely the strongest character in anime.